What's up, YouTube? Demonic Midwinter back with another video. Today I'm doing the metal hit tag of 2021. So this is 20 questions about like CDs and metal or albums in heavy metal in general. And I have answers to most of these questions. So to start off, I'm going with, for music spoiled by vocals, I'm going with Dodsford. Diseased Remnants of a Dying World. Sorry. This guy's voice is just absolutely abysmal. This is a Greek black metal band, and I just can't get into the guy's voice at all. If they had a different vocalist, I think it would be a lot better. I don't think there's much more to say about it. But then next up we have an album you love that's let down by bad production. I'm going with Deathblow, Insect Politics. Otherwise, the songs are incredible. The production is just mediocre at best. I don't know why I feel this way about it. It's a solid album in general, but the production on it is absolutely mediocre. Next, we have a band that suffers from a weak member. We have Metallica. Most people are saying this because it's really true. Lars is a god-awful drummer. I'm sorry, Lars, but when Dave Lombardo asked you if you wanted to take lessons, you should have taken him up on it, and you still should. Next up, show an album that to you defines heavy. I'm going with Entombed, Left Hand Path. It's Entombed, one of the founders of Swedish death metal, and this album, their debut, is an absolute god tier album. Nothing more to say about it, I find. Now, next up, we have show an album recommended to you by the music community. I'm going with an Israeli sludge metal band called Decathlon, Saved by Fear. These guys were recommended to me by Thralls of Metal, Necrotic Nick to be more specific. But this is an incredible band out of Israel. If you've never checked them out, which maybe you haven't, definitely do. They are phenomenal. Next up, we have show an album that takes your musical taste in a different direction. I'm going with Rush, Fly By Night. Most of the music I listen to is metal. But this album is a classic, and I finally actually picked it up a couple weeks ago at a used record store, and it's one of my favorite albums ever, and it has been for a while. Holy cow! I finally have it in my collection, but this is a classic. So if you've never checked out Rush Fly By Night, definitely do. Next up, a gem from my collection. This album is called Alienist. It's from the Brazilian thrash band called Decimator. This album could have been an album of the year for me if I had gotten it last year. Because I had no idea this band even existed, but it's phenomenal. Definitely check them out. Next up we have the band that in my collection that formed closest to where I live. I'm going with Suffocation. These guys formed maybe a half hour from me. And if you don't know Suffocation, you need to check them out. They are phenomenal. But most of you probably know who Suffocation is. Next up, I'm going with, for a metal album that you reach for melody-wise, I'm going with Sabaton, Primo Victoria. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. I've listened to it 1,000 times probably. And holy cow, I am so happy to have this in my collection. This is the rearmed version. At some point I might get an original copy that doesn't have the bonus tracks. But otherwise, this is a phenomenal album. It's a phenomenal album, even rearmed and remastered. But yeah, definitely check it out if you haven't. Next up, the album in my collection I would sell first. This was an easy one for me. I'm going with Anal Nathrek, The Candlelight Years, which is in the constellation of the Black Widow, Passion and Vanitas. I hate these guys. I'm sorry. If this was still in the original case, these were still in the original case, I would sell this immediately. This is god awful, in my opinion. I'm sorry, Anal Nathrek, but not great stuff from them. Next up, what subgenre would I delete from existence? NSBM, because fuck those guys. Racists have no place in music, which I'll get more into later on. But fuck NSBM, fuck people who listen to it, and yeah. Next up, a band that I would like to see an album or a new album from or a reissue from in 2021. I'm going with Salem, and I would love to see them reissue A Moment of Silence. They are an Israeli death doom band. They've been around for a long time, and I only have a couple albums from them. I don't know where they are at the moment, but they are absolutely incredible. I hope that I get to see them at some point, but holy hell, I definitely recommend checking them out. Next up would be a 80s metal act I would love to see a comeback album from. I'm going with Celtic Frost. I just got this killer shirt from the Metalhead box. And they're an incredible band. Definitely check them out if you haven't. Next up, I'm not going to show the alternate art because we all know it and it's absolutely disturbing. But I'm going with Cannibal Corpse with Violence Unimagined. I just got this in the mail yesterday, and I listened to it, and it's phenomenal. If you haven't picked up a copy of it yet, definitely do. But anyways, that the alternate album art for that. Next up, a band that defines metal in my opinion. I'm going with Destruction, the German thrash band. These guys to me are one of the greatest bands ever, I think. If you don't know Destruction, they're a German thrash band. This is their most recent live album, Born to Thrash, live in Germany at, I believe it's Partisan Festival. But it's a phenomenal live album. Definitely check it out. Next up, show the most metallic album cover in my collection. So most people are going with Pantera reinventing the steel. I mean, sure, because it's literally made of metal. But I'm going with Creator Coma of Souls. This album cover, to me, is just metal as all hell. I absolutely love this album cover, and I need to get a shirt with this album art on it. Next up, an album that I disliked at first, but now highly regard. I'm going with Armored Saint's most recent release, Punching the Sky. I really did not like this album at first, to be honest with you guys. It was okay, but after listening to it a lot more, I absolutely love it now. If you haven't listened to that, definitely check it out. Next up, so when I was talking about NSBM and racists getting the hell out of music, this is where it comes back. An album I liked at first, but now I disregard. I'm going with Pink Floyd, The Wall. Roger Waters is an anti-Semitic pile of garbage. I don't give a fuck about him anymore, and he could go suck a fat one for all I care. Go to hell, Roger Waters. Next up, a band, in my opinion, that deserves more recognition. I'm going with Suicidal Angels. Holy hell, these guys are incredible, an incredible new wave of thrash band from Greece. Definitely check them out. I don't have any of their albums, but I definitely need to pick some up at some point. And my number one holy grail going into 2021, it's got to be a Monomorph with Odin on our side. That is a phenomenal album from them. It's probably my favorite one of all time from them. I do not have a copy of it on CD yet. I do need to pick one up, and hopefully I'll get to sooner than later. But anyways, that's it for today's video. Stay metal.